Hey everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Dreamers Game 1 where we are playing Yomi. This is turn 63. Let's jump into things. So, right off the top, we have completed Thaumaturgy 5. Whee! Okay, so, this is, we just jumped into Thaumaturgy 5 because it was something that we knew we could do. It's going to give us access to Growing Fury if Hinnom decides to pull the trigger against us immediately, right? And it was a potential power point that we could flex, and that's it. That's it entirely. So we have that. Then we have a couple of rituals that have gone off. We did a bunch of summoning this turn. We also did a little bit of site searching. Voice of Apsu found a lake of living water here in Jabero, which is neat. Right, so +1 water gem per turn. Augury found nothing twice. Auspex found nothing twice. Gnome Lore found nothing. And that's that. We did a lot of summoning, and we'll look at those actual summoned units when we actually get to the kind of like organizational part of the video. So all we had for gem income this turn was water +1. So boom, there we go. Then we had but one battle. We attacked into Mereni, and this was an attack of two Dionis, Junichi and Tsunei, I believe. Yeah. That had been outside, kind of raiding around in Hinnom's land. And the whole point here was basically just to get them into Mereni, but also to potentially see if we could burn some gems. So over here we got gems on Amis, we got gems on Amis here, and then we've got a couple of Amis in the back with some astral pearls, and I think some lizard shamans with some astral pearls somewhere. So potentially we could burn some of those gems, but it's a matter of whether or not the AI for Hinnom decides that two Dione are dangerous enough. And it looks like generally, I'm not seeing anything crazy go off, so it kind of feels like the answer to that question is no. Alright. So, that means that we've got two Dione that are going to hopefully retreat, because they're both flyers. Okay, we've got one retreated, and oh no. Okay. Actually, we're fine. So this is just one of those cases of the battle not matching up with what actually happened. We did retreat. We didn't burn any gems, and both of these Dione are now in Mereni. So good to know. And that's the only battle we have. So battles versus Hinnom. 0 wins and 1 loss, but kind of an expected loss. Not really upset about that or anything. We knew what we were getting ourselves into. Then we have a couple of unexpected events. We have an event in Tapanete, Rebirth. We have an event in the Veil of Fortune. Oh ho ho, Veil of Fortune. Holy shit! A treasure has been found. That's 1,155 gold is a lot. Not the highest gold I've ever seen, but anything over 1,000 is like, hot damn, that's a chunk of fucking change. And then several different gems and a Crown of Bones. We'll take a look at Crown of Bones here in a second. And then after the Veil of Fortune one, we actually had another event in Hinwood where we had a freak show and more gold. So in total, this turn, there's a worldwide event, by the way, as well, and enchantment rituals are cheaper. So for this turn on events, we had gold plus 1,347. We had fire gems plus 3, air gems plus 4, water gems plus 5, earth gems plus 6, and a crown of bones. So that was really quite neat. A very hefty chunk of change there. And Mereni has been breached, so that is a big deal. So, take a look at the Crown of Bones real quick. This is a death magic I think it's a tier 2 option or item. Um, it's not super expensive. All it really does is give you more undead command, and it gives you -1 inspirational. So we put it on Tsunekage over here, which is kind of like our best leader, so that he can control more Ko-Onis, right? Or control more, lead more Ko-Onis. And the reason why, right, is because we want his typical bonus, which would be a +2, and now is only a +1 because of the inspirational. But we just want to give that to more people. There is there's an argument to say that it would have been better to leave the Ko-Onis, the ones that we have, at a higher bonus rather than giving more at a lower bonus. The thing is we just don't have a bonus for most of them. So I decided that a +1 was better for more of them rather than a +2 for less of them, when the ones who weren't getting that +1 or +2 were instead getting at least -1, right? So there's a 2-point difference there rather than a 1-point difference, right? And that's if they're on Chunaris rather than on Dionis. Dionis are the -2. So, kind of potentially faulty logic there, but I think was the better decision in the long run. We'll see though. Let's talk about. There's not a lot of movement going on this turn that matters. Most of it is just moving around Oni and the various different parts and pieces of our empire. Nothing super big there. We do have reinforcements heading towards Hinnom, led by Taro, who is leading 100 Aka-Oni. These are very valuable reinforcements. We really need them. And then we have Akeno leading 120 Ko-Oni. Again, very valuable, but unlikely to reach in time if Hinnom decides to pull the trigger. So, if Hinnom does decide to pull the trigger, he is going up against 503 units, several Dioni, a lot of Aka-Oni, 128 of those, several hundred Ko-Oni, a couple of Kuro-Oni, and then some Shikomes, Gargoyles, and statues. So let's take a look at this. We've seen Shikomes before, right? Decent HP, not great defensive stats across from that, though, but relatively good offensive stats. They do have Berserker 4, so that's pretty nice. These are, I think Shikome are actually pretty good into the late game if you get buffs on them, like Rush of Strength, right, for example, giving them higher damage, and then getting things like Army of Lead or like mass regeneration and things like that. You combine that with the fact that they are sacred, and with sacred for us, they'll have awe, they'll have regeneration, they'll have shock resistance, which is one of the only resistances that they don't have, and Berserker 4, and then they suddenly actually start to be quite a bit of a problem, right? I actually really think Shikome are quite good if you can get to the point to where you're buffing them with the things that you're wanting to buff them with. So hopefully they'll help, but I don't know that they're going to help a whole lot here. We also have the enlivened statues or living statues. These guys are really just there to try to put some tank into the mix. 20 protection. Not gonna deal super well, really, though, against the undead Rephites or actual Rephites, right? They do have slash resistance, so that will help them out slightly. Just basically chaff. Don't expect them to kill anything. More interested in the Gargoyles, right? The Gargoyles, again, high protection. Not super killy, but killy enough to maybe make some, cause some issues, right? If Hinnom is not expecting us to have any sort of flyers, which, let's be honest, they should be expecting us to have some flyers, because we've already shown that we have several Dioni that will fly. But those Dioni normally start flying after a full buff cycle. These we can just start flying closer to the beginning of the fight, and maybe get some kills on some Amis or Lizard Shamans or things like that. And if not, we can just cause some confusion and chaos in the back lines with them instead. So that's kind of the goal there. Let's review some of the things that we are throwing in. We are throwing in Ravenous Swarm. We have boosted 2 of our Shamans, so we're throwing in a Ravenous Swarm, which I do think is potentially a strong option against the amount of undead that Hinnom is bringing. It is 7, it's only 7 damage. Normally 7 damage is very good against the undead, because normally undead have very low HP with long dead units, right? But Hinnom has long dead Rephites, and Rephites have much higher HP. That being said, I mean, it's still gonna be solid damage. I really wish, I do really wish that you had some sort of tracker at the end of battles to be like, my Firestorm did X amount of damage, my Ravenous Swarm did X amount of damage, you know, etc., right? Like, the fact that we can throw up something like Ravenous Swarm but not actually see how much damage it does is kind of annoying, right? I do wish that we had more tangible information from this type of stuff. But I do think it's going to be helpful in the mix, and then we're going to do some swarm casting after that just to kind of fill bodies, and again, potentially get some bugs on some mages in the rear. I don't expect them to really do anything except maybe chaff some stuff up. I'm going to do some corpse candling, hopefully. Again, that's another kind of situation of just chaffing things up in the rear. We have Divine Blessing coming off of a Terui, and then, you know, attacking the rear with a regular kit, basically, and his quickness. Quickness Gladius. We'll see how he goes. We've got a Howl, again, trying to chaff up the rear. Howl, I think, is potentially going to be okay for us, but we're not in a forest, so we're not expecting, like, a crazy mix of things here. So there's that. Curse of Stones. Gonna put that up, try to fatigue out some of his units. Don't expect it to do very much, but we'll see how it goes. We are putting up End of Weakness in order to buff our Ko-Oni and Aka-Oni. This does come with the side effect of, it's bark skin, so it comes with the side effect of fire resistance going down. We are trying to compensate with that by casting a bunch of flame wards, so that, because I do anticipate that Hinnom is going to use a lot of fire elementals, air elementals, and earth elementals in the coming battle. So we don't want to put up End of Weakness to try to resist, you know, some of the damage coming out of his units, and then just have fire elementals utterly destroy us. So we're going to try to counter with some flame wards and hope that that will work out. Otherwise, we're doing a lot of buff cycling through our Dione, and then a lot of Horde of Skeleton casting on all of our other mages. More flame wards. We're throwing in some lightning war resistance, you know, as well, just to kind of like cover our bases, because I do think there's going to be a bit of air elementals that come out, though I think mostly they're going to be they'll be trampling, so might not matter as much, but we're going to try it and see how it goes. And then there is one other thing that we do expect to have, and that is we are cloud tripping, and I'll, you know, cover this again when we hit the rituals, but we're cloud trapezing in Hyria, the Fairy Queen, who we have given boosters to. She, you know, she can't do fucking mass flight or anything like that, which I think would be the real ticket item if we had been able to get it this turn. But she is going to come in and Arrowfend, Thunder Ward, and throw up a Growing Fury. And the hope is that that Growing Fury is going to be enough to lock in our units that would otherwise not have stuck around. But we'll have to see how that goes. Problem with her is that she only has 9 morale, right? And she currently has 9 morale in a home province. So and in friendly dominion, right? So she's going to have 7 morale popping into Mareni. And I don't know if she's going to be able to stick around as units start to die. So that is kind of a concern. I didn't realize that that was something that the Fairy Queen had an issue with, but apparently it is. So we might end up having to make, if this Fairy Queen survives, if we survive, and if we make more Fairy Queens, we might have to think about adding in some morale gear, morale boosters to their kit in order to try to compensate for the fact that they did just have trash morale. So there's that. And that is pretty much it, right? So fortification in Mareni is breached. I do kind of expect Hinnom to assault us. If Hinnom does not assault us, we have purposefully set ourselves up to where we are going to complete Enchantment 7 this turn, right? So if Hinnom does not attack us this turn, Mass Flight will be on the table next turn. I expect Hinnom is going to attack us, but who knows, right? Like, this definitely, the way they have played the last few turns, absolutely feels like it's a scenario where it's like, oh, okay, this is it. This is the death ball. This is the desperation attack. This is all or nothing. Let's go. So okay, I get it. I understand. Let's fucking do this, right? I do not feel confident in a victory here. I do think I would have felt confident had we had Mass Flight. I think we would slap if we had Mass Flight, right? Who knows, right? I say we would slap if we had Mass Flight. We pop into the battle and Hinnom immediately puts up a storm or something, right? And I'm like, oh, well, I guess we wouldn't have slapped. But I do think it's likely that if we had Mass Flight, this battle would be a done deal. We would win very easily. But without it, I'm not really sure. The issue being is I think Hinnom's gonna bring more than twice our number of mages to the battlefield, and as many gems for elementals as they can. And that matters. That is absolutely going to make a difference. On top of the fact that we're going to have to deal with a lot of very large, like, I'm not super worried about his regular long deads, but his Rephites and his long dead Rephites are issues. They are problems, absolutely. And throw into the mix the handful of remaining Melkarts that he has, all having, like, murder demon gear, means that things are potentially gonna be a bit sketchy. So we kind of have to cross our fingers on this one. I will say, even if Hinnom wins here, I am relatively confident that the damage that we do to him is probably going to be catastrophic. If he wins, I would not expect him to win with much more than, 50 to 80 units left. Meaning that it might be very difficult for him to continue the war. Whereas we're actually doing kind of okay, right? Like, I could throw together another army of this size, another 500 stack in 2 turns, right? Like, we've got 100 here, we've got 60 here, we've actually got 100 here and 120 there, 80 here, 120 here, 200 there, 150 here, right? Like, we have some units kind of like strung about. It would not take us very long to rearmament, I guess. But if that happens, I do think it's going to be, it's going to be a very long, drawn-out process, and we'll probably be at war with Hinnom for the rest of the game. So we want to avoid that. We would prefer to win here now. So anyways, that is kind of like what's going on for the actual, the actual turn, the actual organization of the turn. There's not really anything else to talk about from a rest of the world perspective. The war rages on. Ubar versus Helheim, and Helheim versus Lanka, etc., etc. Relay continues to battle against Ermor, and that's really pretty much it. So, what are we doing this turn? Specifically, we are, because of the boon of gold that we have received, we are putting up a palisade in Ghent. We've been kind of prepping this for a while, so building +1 palisade, right? That. So we've got that going on, and this is just, for the future scenario of eventually needing to deal with Pestena, or Helheim at Pestena, or I actually have a pretty decent relationship with Helheim right now, so it's possible that if Helheim starts to go down, maybe we just get Pestena, or Ubar attacks into Pestena, and we eventually might have to fight Ubar for it, or who knows, right? There's plenty of options. So we just want to get something as some sort of fortification in this area. What else do we have going on? We have recruitment in a number of different locations. Again, thanks to the windfall that we have 2 Onishugo, we have 1 Neminari, we have 16 bandits with Yaris, and we have 6 lizard warriors. This is kind of like, I probably shouldn't be spending money on the bandits with Yari or the lizard warriors, but this was kind of a reflexive reaction, right? The fact that if we lose this army here in Mareni, we don't have that much left. I say we don't have that much. I just got saying we have stuff all scattered all over the place. Not what I meant. I meant what we have isn't immediately available, and I'm not sure what else to do with the gold except try to convert it into some sort of power. With the bandits with Yaris, I do actually think they're a decent investment because I do think they are decent raiders, right? So if we can get them going, then that might be worthwhile. But I do think at the end of the day, it probably would have been better, like if I can all these, right? I think it probably would be better at this point in the game as Yomi to just sit on money like this and only really concern ourselves with the commanders that we value and the infrastructure that we require, right? I kind of think that is the way I should be operating at this point, and I think I'm going to start leaning in that direction, but I'm not sure yet. Anyways, that is... Oh shit! I didn't notate that. We did 2 Onishugo, 1 Neminari, 16 bandits with Yaris, and 6. That was okay. Ritual wise, we've got not actually a lot going on, and not a lot of forging either. And primarily, again, this goes to this situation. So I very specifically canceled doing things that I had planned on doing, just to make sure that we had enough research to do Enchantment 7 next turn if we had the possibility, right? So this is going to be kind of light on rituals, though we do still have some. We have 1 augury, 1 gnome lore, 5 corpse constructions, 1 well of misery, which we'll talk about, and 1 cloud trapeze, right? Put that down real quick, and we'll talk about the one that really matters. We've already talked about the cloud trapeze, right? Like that's we've got our fairy queen going into Marena, right? The only other real big thing is well of misery over here. So we are throwing up a well of misery for I think about 160 death gems. Total, so it has a base cost of 80, so we're overcasting by 80, which isn't great. It's not horrible, but it's not fantastic. I probably should not have utilized as many death gems as I have been utilizing in the last 5 to 10 turns in preparation of this. But I mean, it's not that big of an issue. And the reason why we're doing it this turn is because again, I wish that they showed you this. I wish there are announcements for when globals go up. I wish there were announcements for when globals go down. But Vengeful Water was taken down this turn by Ermor. Last turn, we all sent a bunch of gems to Ermor, and then this turn, they utilized them to take down the Vengeful Water. So we had that going on. I got 10 nature gems going to Lanka for something this turn, but I don't remember what. I think it might have been as part of, right, like I didn't want to, I don't know. I think it might have been part of, like, I didn't want to send more astral gems or something like that, so they sent more astral gems in my stead, and I sent, like, nature gems to them. I can't remember what it was, but there was some sort of, like, trade deal or negotiation deal going on there for that, and I don't remember what it was. So my apologies on that particular thing. So Well of Misery going up for 160-ish gems. Fingers crossed, should be good. If we can get Well of Misery up, right, we're going to have 38 gems per month. And we'll also benefit from the fact that, you know, we'll have more income, which is nice. I mean, the whole world will have more income, but we like that. But 38 death gems. We're very close to Lichcraft, which is 30, right? So we could produce a Lich every single turn, and still make profit on gems, which is pretty amazing, right? Like, that's really good, because having that many Liches, even just after like 5 to 10 turns, right? 5 to 10 Liches is a pretty amazing thing, especially when you're kitting them out with stuff like Shade Mails and Amulets of Anti-Magic. So fingers crossed that goes well. And then the only other thing we're doing is we are doing some forging. We're doing 1 Flesh Eater and 3 Amulets of Anti-Magic, actually. Just Amulets of Anti-Magic are valuable. Have an opportunity to kind of pad our store of them out. So we're just taking that opportunity. And then the Flesh Eater, like I said, right, Flesh Eaters are potentially useful options for keeping our Dione in a fight, right? So we'll see how that goes. I think that's pretty much it. There's not really a lot else to talk about. We've got a really big fight coming up with Hinnom, and depending on that, how that goes, we could be done with the war in Hinnom, or we could have a long journey ahead of us, trying to finish things up against Hinnom, or even dying against Hinnom, although that seems unlikely at this point, right? Dying to someone else while still fighting Hinnom seems more likely. But if we can finish off Hinnom, then we could potentially start to get involved in the world events again. Maybe involved against Ubar or Ermor or even Lanka, although the idea of being involved in Lanka seems very strange. Even Helheim, right? Like, there's that possibility as well, though the last time we tried to pull the trigger on Helheim, that was horrible. I think Ermor is probably Ermor or Ubar are the two that stand out the most to me because of the shape of the empire. Being able to take Ermor would just give us a nice rounded empire. Going into Ubar would be, good, and they're already fighting against someone, so just ideas, opportunities. We'll see how it goes. Fingers crossed. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.